everybody, Chigozie Siani here. Welcome to the training. And also, welcome to the world of domain trading, where the act of buying and selling domain names is known as domain flipping. Now, in this training, you're going to learn how to effectively flip domain names for cash and become an effective and successful domain trader. Now, if you stick with me till the end of this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how and where you're going to be able to buy these domain names, which registrar to choose. As you all know, there are a whole bunch of registrars out there. We have GoDaddy, we have 1&1 Ionos, we have Namecheap, just to name a few. But it's not just about having a cool domain name in your head that you want to sell and then going to any registrar to buy. It's more than that. Having a cool domain name is one, but knowing the registrar to get or to buy the domain name and register from is also another thing to look at. As we're going to be looking at the registrars that offer seller side support, so that when you register the domain names from these registrars that offer seller side support, you'll be able to activate your domain name for Cedo MLS Premium, which enables you transfer your domain with ease to your customer that finally buys the domain name from you. Okay, that's the advantage of buying from a registrar that supports seller side support. Okay, and also, if you stick with me till the end of this training, I'm going to be showing you how you be able to create your own Cedo account, and how to set up your account, how to list your domain name in your Cedo account, how to also because when you list your domain name, you'll be asked to prove like you're the owner of the domain, like for domain verification. I'm also going to show you how you would get into your registrar and activate your domain and set it up as it's your own, like you're the owner of the domain. So if you stick with me to the end of this video, I'm going to be showing you all these things and more. Now, without further ado, let's get into the training deep. Now, like with every other kind of digital assets, okay, domain names are also categorized as digital assets, just like how cryptocurrencies are also digital assets, okay. But domain names are also more comparable to real estate, as having a domain name is like having a piece of real estate online. Okay, so we all know that domain names are worth gold, just like how cryptocurrencies are worth gold, and cryptocurrencies are digital assets, okay, and domain names are also digital assets. What are assets? Assets are things that you buy. When you buy, you keep it, and over time, it increases in value. Though that's like a wide definition of assets. Now, take that definitive term and fix it into an online term. Okay, so that's why it's called digital. Anything online is digital. So with that definition of assets, cryptocurrency is an asset that you buy, you keep it for some time for it to gain in value, and then you sell it off. Just like how domain name too is like it's an asset, you buy it and keep it for some time, and then you sell it off. So all these things are all online. Anything online is known as digital. Okay, so it's also digital asset. So, but domain names are more comparable to real estate. What is a domain name? A domain name is just the www.thename.com. That is the domain name. For example, the website that you're on is called Digirhino, but the website is www.digirhino.com. The www.digirhino.com is the domain name. The website is the content in the domain name that you're viewing. Okay, this is not Digirhino, this is actually said. I'm just giving an example. Okay, so the content is what you view in the domain name digirhino.com. Okay, so but domain names are more comparable to real estate, and real estate deals with the buying and selling of houses. Okay, and houses are assets. Just like how you buy it, and after like 5 years, it doubles for the amount you bought it from, and when you sell it, you get more than the profit you bought it from. So domain names are actually more comparable to real estate, as the domain name, the www is the domain name, and the website is the content you build around the domain name. Now, just like how real estate is, you buy a land, take that land now as the www, okay, and take the building on the land as the content you build on that land, which is like the content you build on Okay, so when you buy a land, you buy it for some certain amount of money, huge amounts of money. But when you keep that land and you want to sell it like in 2 3 years later, the amount doubles. So it's like that. When you buy domain name and you buy it and then you keep it, after some time you sell it off. That is, after some time, the value of what you bought it from has already doubled. Okay, so you can see the similarities between domain names and real estate. So it's more, domain name is more comparable to real estate, as like having a domain name is like you are having your own piece of land online, your own digital land. It's like having your own piece of real estate online. You get it? Okay, so now that it's clear, it's like having your own piece of real estate online where you buy the domain name and then you keep it for some time by either developing it, to a full blown website, or just develop it. Just buy the domain name and just put ads on it, and by doing that, or you just allow it to increase in value over time. Okay, or if you'd also prefer, you could just buy the domain name and just set it off immediately. Okay, so, and also, domain flipping is one of the most lucrative businesses out there that you can start and use to make a living for yourself. But you must also know that domain flipping is not a get rich quick scheme, as when setting the price of your domain, there's this, there's usually this excitement of wanting to set it for millions of dollars. As in the past, domain names have been sold for such amount. Example, let me give you an example. Okay, LasVegas.com was sold for $90 million, and that was a 2015, and 360due.com was sold for $17 million, and sold for $70 million, and Quiho. Let me open it for you so that you can see. Quiho.com was sold. Well, I mean, 360due.com was sold for $17 million to Quiho, and let me just quickly show you that. Okay. Quiho bought 360due.com for uh, $17 million. It's a Chinese firm, and Cars.com was sold for the highest, which is 875 million. So as you can see here, a list of domain names sold. Domain names, which is the www dot whatever it is .com. Okay, it's like having a piece of land. It's the same thing as having a piece of land. And after a while, it increases in value. So it's more comparable to real estate. That's why it's called an asset, and that's why domain name is called real asset. So if you take a look at this, list of domain names sold. Okay, so look at the list right here. This is just giving us like top 10 domain names sold of all time. We have business.com was sold for 345 million. Now all these names are just names that are sold. There is no website built around all these names. It's just the names that are sold for these huge amounts that you're seeing. There are no contents built around these names. Now when the buyer buys these names, then he or she can now work on the content he or she wants to be displayed on this domain name or on this domain name. You get the idea now. So it's just the names that are being sold. It's just domain names that are being sold. So top 10 domain name sales of all time. We have business.com was sold for $345 million. Las Vegas.com was sold for $90 million. Carinsurance.com was sold for $49.7 million. Insurance.com was sold for $35.6 million. And so on and so forth. Vacation rentals, 35. Privatejet.com, 30.1. I mean, voice.com, 30. Internet.com, 18 million. So you can see that all these domain names are actually sold for this huge amounts. Okay, so you know all these ideas can become too exciting, and you be tempted to, when you're buying your domain name and you want to list it for sale, just because you've seen, oh, okay, this domain name was bought for this amount and sold for these huge millions of dollars. Having that mentality, when you buy your domain name, that you want to set the price for millions of dollars. Okay, the idea can be too exciting, and you be tempted to put extravagant amount as your price tag. Doing so will definitely kill your chances of getting your domain sold. So always tend to be realistic when setting up the price. Okay. Now the reason why these names sold for uh, all these huge amounts is because these are all generic names, everyday names. Okay. If you check watch.com, if you check i.com, if you check, everyday words. These are all generic words that have value. It's what everybody say. It's what is being searched. Terms that are being searched every time. So when you look at all these domain names, that you tend to wonder, well, as a domain trader, what can I do next? Because all these domain names are actually taken. So what can I do next? All these things will be covered in this video. Just stick to the end of this video. I'll answer all these questions. Okay, so let us talk about some key points to know when getting uh, your domain names. Okay, so it is worth noting that every word in the English language has been registered with either a .com, .net, or a .org top level domain. Okay, I would explain what a top level domain is as the video continues. Okay, so and these are generic names that are worth millions of dollars, as I earlier stated. E.g. cars.com, hotels.com, ice.com, watch.com, privatejet.com. They are everyday words, and everyday words are worth millions of dollars. Okay, so that's why when you search for any regular domain name, it's usually registered. Go ahead, think of any everyday words in your head and go to any registrar. Let's say go to godaddy.com for instance. Okay, the what you've just thought of, type it into the box and click search. It will tell you the name has been registered. Do you understand now? So being a domain trader doesn't mean that, okay, since all these names are registered, there is nothing more that you can do. Okay, so just keep watching to the end of this video. So that's why when you search for any regular domain name, it's usually registered. So when you improvise and come up with a very creative domain name, you have to set a price tag for it somewhere around the $500 to $1,000 mark range, in order to give it a befitting chance of getting sold. Because the domain names you might have are not these everyday words, because everyday words are already taken. Single everyday words are already taken, unless you improvise and join two or more words, or things like that. So usually they are not worth millions, but because you've seen domain names sold for millions, you would then want to skyrocket your amount to that. It's not so. So when you improvise and manage to come up with a cool domain name, you know I would also be showing you how you'll be able to get cool domain names that are worth 6 to 7 figures. I will be exposing all these things to you as the video goes along. So it's always advisable that for every domain name you come up with, okay, it should be around the 500 to 1,000 dollar mark range. Okay, so now how do you come up with killer domain name ideas? Now, since all these domain names are taken, cars.com, hotel.com, watch.com, yachts.com, boats.com, ship.com, every single word, since all these names are taken, how do you come up with killer domain name ideas then? Now, listen, the best way to sell domain names that can fetch you millions of dollars is by selling generic or everyday words. But unfortunately, about 360 million words in the dictionary, in the English language, okay, has been registered so far. But that doesn't mean that all hope is lost, as you can still be creative enough to come up with cool domain names that can be worth 6 to 7 figures. Okay, so that doesn't mean because all these domain names, all these millions of domain names that have been registered, there's no hope for you. No, I would be showing you, the API that you will use to generate cool domain names. In as much as you use your head to, come up with cool domain names, I would also be sharing with you an API, a generative API that will also generate, cool domain names for you that you can, pick and, move on from there. Okay, so things to note and consider when buying a new domain name. Okay, things to note and consider when buying a new domain name. Now, I made mention of something earlier called the TLD. Okay, the TLD. Let me go back to that place. I said it's worth noting that everybody in the English language has been registered with either a .com, .net, or TLD. Okay, now so what I'm talking about now is things to consider when buying a new domain name, and I would expatiate, on what the TLD stands for. Now, listen, when buying a new domain name which you want to sell, I'm not saying domain name you want to use for your own personal project, like you want to become a domain trader, isn't it? So things to know when consider buying a new domain name you want to sell. So when buying a new domain name, okay, you have to consider the length of the domain. Now, what is the length? You can't just go to namecheap.com or any registrar and go there and type I want to be a loverboy.com and expect it is what gold, or my daddy is a rough rider biker.com. Nah, those are not what we're talking about here. As long as it's domain names that you want to sell, okay? When buying a new domain name, you have to consider the length of the domain name. The shorter the length, like 3 to 5 letters, the more valuable it becomes. Now, if you don't know any words that has 3 to 5 letters in it, you can just improvise and just do something like xyzab.com, xyzab.org, or xyzab.net. That's a 5-lettered domain name. You can also improvise and say something like, let me see, offer.com. That's offer, offer.com. You know, domain names, you need to consider the length, okay? You need to consider the length. The shorter the domain, like 3 to 5 letters, the more valuable it becomes. As long as it's a name you want to sell, you have to take consideration of all these things, okay? That is number one. Now, 6 to 10 letter domain are considered valuable depending on your level of research and creativity, okay? Like I said, 3 to 5, a shorter domain like 3 to 5 letters is more valuable, but you know, something longer, maybe like 10-lettered domain name does not mean it is not valuable. It is more valuable, but unless you know you come up with something very strong but fitting, it's a word that has 10 letters, okay? Either the word makes meaning or it doesn't make meaning, but let it be 10 letters, okay? So depending on your level of creativity, domain names that are 6 to 10 letter long can have value as well, okay? So then anything longer than that, anything longer than 10 letters is pure dumpster fire. And that is what we talk about, things like my daddy is a chiefcook.com, something like that, or I'm in love with your dirty boyfriend.org, you know. Things like that are extravagantly long, and unless you're trying to use that domain name for your own personal project, but if it's the domain name you want to sell, you have to consider that 3 to 5 letter domain names are more valuable, but 6 to 10 domain names are what valuable if your level of creativity and your level of research is strong. Okay. Another thing to note and consider when buying a new domain name is the TLD. I said I was going to explain the TLD, isn't it? So the TLD. Now, what is a TLD? The TLD, which stands for top level domain, okay, is the extension of your domain. Now, what is the name of this website? It is Sedo, isn't it? Sedo.com. Now, Sedo.com is the domain name, but what is the TLD? The TLD means top level domain. The TLD is the .com in the Sedo. Our website, which is digirhino.com, the TLD is the .com in the Digirhino domain name. Another name you should look at is, for example, blord.net. The TLD is the .net, okay? So TLD stands for top level domain, and they are basically the extensions that come after the name of your domain. Are you getting it now? So the TLD, which is the extension that comes after the domain, is either the .com, .net, or .org. Like the website you're on now is digirhino.com, okay? Digirhino.com is the domain name, but the TLD is the .com, which is the extension that comes after the Digirhino. Do you understand? So the TLD, which stands for top level domain, is actually the extension that comes after, you know, the domain name itself. Example, .com, .net, or .org. Now, since that is clear, okay, so that is another thing to consider. And another thing you should look forward to is this. There are many new TLDs now available, but you know, most of them are actually worth trash. I think I read somewhere that there are about 1,033 new TLDs, you know, which includes like .xyz, dot app dot io dot you know, and things like that, you know. But the most popular one is .com, .org, or .net. Okay, so but you know, many of all these new TLDs are actually wash trash, except for like TLDs like .app and .io, you know, of which is gradually gaining momentum. There was this domain name, I actually forgot the name, but it's a .app domain name. It's something .app, and a company actually bought that domain name for $250,000. Is it $250,000 euros? I think between that benchmarks, it should be about 250,000 euros. Yeah, the company bought the domain name .app, something .app for 250,000 euros, and it was actually sold on Sedo.com. Okay, so now you should know that you know domain top level domain like .app and .io are gradually gaining momentum. But if you want to prefer to be on the safe side, okay, the best to choose from is actually the .com, .net, or .org, as they are the most popular top level domains which everybody knows. Anybody that goes online automatically the website is going to use automatically something.com or something.net. It's a very popular, or something.org. It's a very very popular extension. It's rare you hear someone going to Samsung.app or Samsung.io or Samsung.xyz or Samsung.hospital. Are you getting me now? So these are the things you need to consider when getting a new domain name that you want to sell, not for your own personal use, that you want to sell. So these are the things to consider, and I've already explained what the TLD means, what it looks like, and all of that. Okay, so now I stated in the beginning of this course that I was going to, if you stick with me all through the end of this video, I was going to teach you, the registrars you're going to get domain names from. Not just any registrars. It's not GoDaddy. Just registrars like GoDaddy, but it's registrars that offer seller side support. When you list your domain name on Sedo. GoDaddy doesn't offer seller side support when you list your domain name on Sedo. As registrars that offer seller side support, when your domain is now listed in Sedo.com, once you've logged into your account and your domain is listed in Sedo.com, you bought that domain name from registrars that offer seller side support. Now in your account, when you log in, you will now be able to activate Sedo MLS Premium, as domains bought from seller side support registrars are eligible to activate for Sedo MLS Premium. Now what is Sedo MLS Premium? Sedo MLS Premium actually stands for Sedo Multi-Level Service Premium, which once your domain name is activated for the Sedo MLS Premium, when you log in, okay, your domain name is distributed on Sedo's private 650 advertising network. So advertisers all over the world visiting Sedo will be able to see your domain name. About 170 million, or is it 17 million? Within that range, you'll be able to see your domain name, and you'll be able to actually clinch a buyer that would buy your domain name. So I'll be teaching you how to choose the registrars you're going to buy the domain names from. I would also be teaching you how to create your Sedo account and set your Sedo account up. I'm also going to teach you how to list your domain name that you've bought. Okay, I'm also going to teach you how you're going to list your domain name in your Sedo account when you log in and activate for Sedo MLS Premium. And I'll also teach you how to set the price for the domain. Like I said, when you're choosing the price, it should be between 500 to 1,000 mark. That would give it a very very high chance of it getting sold. So I'm also going to teach you, which is the most interesting part, how to now auction off your domain on Sedo. Now all these domain names you see on all these slots are actually being auctioned, and buyers are actually looking at all these domain names, and they are actually going to buy the domain name. Okay, like if you watch the video before getting into this website, I logged into my account and I showed you my own assets, isrj.com, which is listed in my Sedo account, and it's actually undergoing auction right now. Okay, so once the auction ends and I get the bids, I'm actually going to close the auction and sell it for the highest bidder. Okay, so the auction I'm actually selling my domain for is between 50,000 USD to 99,000 USD. So anyone who bids between that range or more than that, once the auction closes, I'm going to to sell the domain name and make my profits. Okay, so isn't that interesting? So that is it. So in this training, I'm going to show you how you can do all these things, list your domain name, put the necessary prices that you're going to put to it, and you'll be able to make $1,000 every month flipping domain names, guaranteed. I give you my word, guaranteed every month flipping domain names. Okay, so before you leave, as in the end of this video, in this course, you're going to learn how to buy domain names for cheap and sell that domain name for $500 to $1,000 every month guaranteed. And what you get in this training include, you're going to get started buying domain names, choosing the registrars you buy from. You're going to get started, with your Sedo and setting up your Sedo account. You're going to get, you know, training on how to get certification on Sedo for you to be able to, if you want to buy on Sedo, and because as a startup account on Sedo, the limit is 10,000 euros USD or Great British Pound. But if you want to bid more than that, you need to get certification. So I'm going to teach you how you're going to be getting certification for Sedo to increase your bidding power. Then I'm also going to teach you how you list your domain name and you list it for sale and setting the price. And I'm also going to teach you how to park your domain and make money, from parked domain names. Okay, your domain is just sitting there, but I'm also going to teach you, while your domain is sitting there, how you can make money from that domain as it's being parked. I'm going to teach you how to park your domain and how to make money from it being parked. And I'm also going to teach you how to activate Sedo MLS Premium and also how to auction your domain, which is what everybody wants. Get this domain name, do all the necessary things, and then auction it up and then making a sale. These are all what you're going to learn. Okay, so trading domain names has been one of the most hidden gold mines, and only a handful of people are actually making a fortune from it. So in this training, I'm going to show you exactly how other traders and myself are actually killing it in this business. So I'll see you on the other side of this training as you get this course. I look forward to giving you these secrets to how to become a successful domain trader and make money while you're doing it. Okay? Cheers.